Have you ever imagined a world where giants walked the earth? Not in fairy tales, but right here, where we live today. Picture this. Towering mammoths with colossal tusks, saber-toothed tigers with dagger-like fangs, and ground sloths as tall as giraffes. This wasn't a fantasy. This was the reality of the Ice Age, a time when colossal creatures, known as megafauna, were the undisputed rulers of the planet. But then, in the blink of a geological eye, they vanished. What happened to these magnificent beasts? Why did their kingdom fall? Today, we read journeying back in time to unravel one of prehistory's greatest mysteries, the extinction of the Ice Age giants. Let's set the scene. We're in the late Pleistocene epoch, which ended around 11,700 years ago. The world was a very different place. Massive ice sheets covered large parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. But beyond the ice, vast grasslands and open woodlands teemed with life. In North America, herds of woolly mammoths, distant cousins of today's elephants, roamed the tundra. These weren't just big, they were enormous, standing up to 13 feet tall and weighing over 10 tons. Their thick, shaggy coats and layers of fat were perfect insulation against the biting cold. Alongside them were the mastodons, shorter, stockier browsers that preferred forests and wetlands. Imagined the ground shaking as a herd of these giants thundered by. But the mammoths weren't the only titans. There were giant beavers the size of black bears, formidable short-faced bears that would dwarf a modern grizzly, and the iconic saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fetulus. Smilodon wasn't a tiger, but a unique predator with 7-inch canine teeth. It was a master of the ambush, likely using its incredible strength to tackle large prey like bison and camels. Yes. Camels were native to North America. The ecosystem was a complex, dynamic web of massive herbivores and the powerful predators that hunted them. Down in South America, the cast of characters was even more bizarre, featuring an armored mammal that looked like a Volkswagen Beetle with a spiked tail, and the Megatherium, a giant ground sloth that could stand on its hind legs to reach high branches. This was a world of giants, a planet dominated by size and power. Then, everything changed. As the last ice age drew to a close, a mass extinction event swept across the globe. Around 75% of large animal species in North America disappeared. South America lost over 80%, and Australia lost nearly 90%. Mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, giant sloths all gone. So, what was the culprit? For decades, scientists have debated two main theories: climate change and human hunting. Let's call it the case of climate versus Clovis. First, let's look at the climate argument. The end of the Pleistocene wasn't a gentle warming. It was a period of rapid and dramatic climate instability. As the glaciers retreated, temperatures swung wildly. The vast, cool grasslands and open woodlands that the megafauna depended on began to shrink and change. Forests expanded, seasons became more extreme, and the reliable food sources these giant herbivores had evolved to eat for thousands of years disappeared or became fragmented. For an animal the size of a mammoth, which needed to eat hundreds of pounds of vegetation every single day, this was a catastrophe. Their habitat, the very foundation of their existence, was crumbling beneath their feet. Smaller, more adaptable animals could cope with these changes. But for the specialists to megafauna, it was a struggle for survival. Think of it like this. Your favorite restaurant, the only one that serves the food you can eat, suddenly closes down, and all the other restaurants in town change their menus. For these giants, the entire world's menu was changing too fast. Now, let's bring in the second suspect. Us humans, specifically, the highly skilled hunters known to archaeologists as the Clovis people, named after the distinctive spear points they crafted. These early human settlers spread across North and South America right around the time the megafauna began to decline. The timing is incredibly suspicious, isn't it? The overkill hypothesis suggests that these human hunters, armed with sophisticated tools and cooperative strategies, were incredibly effective predators. They arrived in a land filled with giant animals that had never encountered a two-legged predator with a sharp stick and a big brain. These animals may have been naive and easy targets. Archaeological evidence supports this idea. At numerous sites, we've found Clovis spear points embedded in mammoth and mastodon bones. This is the smoking gun direct proof that humans were hunting these giants. For a small band of hunters, taking down a single mammoth would provide an enormous amount of food, hide, and bone for tools. It would have been a huge reward. The theory suggests that even a small, steady pressure from human hunting could have been enough to push species already stressed by climate change over the brink. It might not have been a massive slaughter, but a death by 1,000 cuts, as breeding populations dwindled faster than they could recover. So, was it the changing climate or the clever hunters? For a long time, the debate was very polarized. You were either on Team Climate or Team Clovis. But today, most scientists believe the answer isn't one or the other. It was likely a devastating 1-2 punch. Imagine you're a mammoth. Your world is already in chaos. Your food is disappearing. The landscape is changing, and you're being forced into smaller and smaller pockets of suitable habitat. You're stressed, and your population is already declining. And then, a new, incredibly intelligent predator shows up. A predator you've never seen before. This combination of environmental stress and new hunting pressure was likely the fatal blow. The megafauna were caught between a rock and a hard place, a rapidly changing climate, and a lethally efficient new predator. The story doesn't end there, though. Recent research has added even more layers to this complex puzzle. Some studies point to the possibility of a hyperdisease, a deadly pathogen carried by humans or their dogs, to which the native megafauna had no immunity. Another fascinating, though more controversial, idea is the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. This theory suggests that one or more comets exploded over North America around 12,800 years ago, triggering massive wildfires, a dramatic drop in temperature known as the Younger Dryas period, and contributing directly to the extinction. While the evidence for this impact is still heavily debated, it adds another potential element to this perfect storm of destruction. The disappearance of these giants left a profound void. Their extinction had cascading effects on the ecosystem, a process called trophic cascade. Without massive herbivores to graze and trample vegetation, landscapes changed. Without large predators to keep herbivore populations in check, the entire food web was rewired. We are still living in the shadow of this extinction. The world we see today, the forests, the grasslands, the very distribution of animal life, was shaped by the loss of these magnificent creatures. It's a sobering thought. The story of the Ice Age giants is a powerful reminder of how fragile even the most dominant species can be in the face of rapid environmental change. Their world disappeared, and they disappeared with it. As we face our own challenges with climate change and biodiversity loss today, the ghosts of the mammoth and the saber-tooth offer a critical lesson from the deep past. They remind us that our planet's systems are interconnected, and that the fate of its greatest inhabitants can change in the blink of an eye. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to the Age of Giants. It's a fascinating and complex story, and we're learning more every day. What do you think was the main cause of their extinction? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. Thanks for watching.